All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Inside Scoop. Man, I've really been enjoying these with my guy, my buddy, Jacques Rougeau, the Mountie, former Intercontinental Champion, former WWE Tag Team Champion. How are you tonight, sir?
Chris, I'm doing fine. I gotta admit, I'm learning more with you than you're learning with me. So it's amazing. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. Yeah, man. So we talked about some Pat Patterson. We talked about Ric Flair. This episode and this series of episodes, we're gonna talk about one of the most iconic names, one of the most iconic figures in pro wrestling history, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. Yep. So you worked with him quite a bit.
Yeah, Chris, you stole my first line. The eighth wonder of the world. I'm telling you, you're the worst commentary guy I've done commentaries. You always steal everything from my mouth.
That makes me a good journalist.
You know me more than I know. I'll bet you know Andre more than I do.
I do, boss.
yeah. Well, we'll see how much you know him through this interview because I know him pretty good.
I agree. I believe it too.
Okay, so here we go. Let's start about Andre. I got to tell you, Andre the Giant, the eighth wonder of the world. I think it's Bobby Heenan that starts saying that, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. But what a phenomena. I mean, I remember I was 10 years old. I was in Montreal, and my dad and my uncle owned the business. And Andre the Giant used to come and work at the Montreal Forum. And I always had access to the dressing rooms when I was young. And geez, when you're 8, 10 years old and you have this guy who says, hey, boss. I'm sure he's not talking to me, but he talks to everybody as boss. Mm-hmm. He says, would you mind getting me some hot dogs? Because he wanted some hot dogs, to stand. I'm 10 years old, and this guy, his hand is bigger than my head. And so I really enjoyed being around that guy. He was always nice. In his younger years, he was happier. Mm-hmm. I'll get to that later. But in his younger years, he thrived about being the eighth wonder of the world. He loved to see the reaction of the people and how people were impressed to see him. Edouard Carpentier, I don't know if what a question. If you know him, you know Edouard Carpentier. But for those people who didn't know that, he's the one who brought Andre the Giant from overseas, from Europe. He brought him into Montreal, and that's where he started. Yep. He bought some businesses and stuff like that. I've always had a great relationship with Andre because he's French and because we spoke French all the time. Every time we met, I guess it brought him back to speaking French in Paris, in his home. And so every time he spoke French with me, it was like going back home. And so I had a great relationship with him from the time he used to come and wrestle in Montreal when I was 10 years old. And then when I hit about 18 years old, I played a lot of cards in the dressing room. I was one of those guys who enjoyed killing time in the dressing room.
What card games did you play?
I played them mostly in the crib with Andre. It was cribbage, but we played 9. 9 was a good game. We played up in northern parts of Montreal and that. But crib that's what he was known for. Mm-hmm. Me and Andre, we used to play crib all the time since I was 18 years old. And you know what? I was thinking before. I was thinking being in the business 41 years, and but I knew Andre when I was 10 years old, and I'm 60. And how long is he dead now? How long has he been dead, Andre?
93, 94, I believe he passed. 94.
Okay. So I was born in 60. I started to see him and talk with him in 70. So almost 30 years.
93 passed 93.
Yeah, so almost 30 years that I knew that guy. Wow. And it was amazing because when I was doing all the small territories too, that was another thing. He was like Ric Flair that we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that they'd fly in once in a blue moon on a big card. And then it's amazing because every time he'd come in the dressing room, wherever territory I was in, it was amazing. He'd say, boss, want to play some cribbage? And it was so funny because all the boys, they looked at him like, wow. And me, I was his buddy, I was his buddy. I always appreciated the way he treated me. When we were even in the territory, for 10 years in the WWF, when we traveled around the world, every time it was amazing. Picked up a little bit of heat there, but as soon as we take off in the airplanes, Andre the Giant was so big in first class that they couldn't rent the seat beside him. And so he always had a first class seat, an empty seat. So every time we took off, a 6-hour flight, 7-hour flight, the flight attendant would come in the back and she'd say, Jacques Rougeau, Jacques Ragout, and I'd say, yeah, that's me. And they'd say, you're needed up front in first class. Yes. So yeah, that was fun. So I always had a great time with him.
Yeah, he was really big. Andre, he really kind of popularized the art of the royal or the battle royal, right? So we talked about Pat Patterson, really kind of coining the Royal Rumble name, but Andre was the battle royal guy. Everybody came to see in the 70s. They came to see Andre the Giant or Andre, to really just really maximize that battle royal feel, and how many people he's going to throw out. Is he going to be thrown out? And at that time, he was a huge baby face. He was a huge good guy. And so he would be the center of attraction, and people he would draw so many crowds with the battle royals.
Amazing souvenirs for me with the battle royals. Mm-hmm. Would you believe, Chris, that I actually made Andre the Giant go over the top rope in the battle royal?
Wow.
Yeah, me with 19 other guys, but we put him out because we had to put him out at the beginning of a battle royal. I think it was for the Fullers in Pensacola. Okay. But we had to put Andre over the top. When I tell the story, I always said, "Hey, I put him over the top." Add with the 19 other guys, but it was amazing. And to tell you the truth, when I got in the battle royal with him, I was very afraid of him. I always stayed far away from him in the ring. If he was in the right corner, I was in the left. Because there's nothing you could do with that guy. No. You couldn't look good being around that guy, that's for sure.